line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly, Miller's still such up. He's left on second and
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Friday night. It's TSRC GT4 Series Season 1 from the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. I am James Parfitt, going to be joined in the booth by Tom Cairns here this evening. Hope you are all well. Hope you're having a fabulous Friday night. Thank you so much. If you have joined us, let me know and say hi. Don't forget that as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe and do all that fancy jazz you can do on YouTube, whether it's on the TSRC YouTube channel or the JBB YouTube channel. That would be amazing. The series itself, well, is the Nürburgring, 3.199 miles, 5.148 kilometers of, well, a very well-known traditional circuit that's been around since 1927. Yes, 1927. It's got multiple layouts here today as well, but we are using the Grand Prix circuit layout, so keep an eye and look forward. You can see there it has got the arena, it has got the fast left-right chicane and the Schumacher S and after the Michelin curve, so there's a lot that's going to be involved with this one today. Let's have a look at the standings here as well. In the pro standings currently, this is how the points match up after this round. Kieran Sharp out in front with 60 points, and Josh Millington in second on 50. Then you got Volkan Bakardin on 47. Tom Davidson in fourth on 44. Pierre Antoine on 36. Jamie Nudd on 34. Felix Smoggy on 30. Jason Marshall on 28. Gwilym Hamlin on 27. And Nick Clibbins rounding out the top 10 on 24. Bart Raven, Bobby Moss, Arturo Customs, Hayden Miller, Gergely Kinsabo, Andrew Pike, Vinicius Bravaria, Liam Giles and Jack Southfield round out the full 19. In the AMS at the moment, William Chandler's out in front on 61, and Ian Pfeiffer on 48, and Richard Phillips on 37, Mav Gardner on 34, and David Long on 33, with Patrick Dern in on 6th on 31, Clement Cowell on 13th, and Johnny Wu, Matt Smith, Brandon Haig, Marcus Cook, Louis Hesketh, Thomas Martin, Stefan Mellis, Simon Norton, Alex Phillips and Ron Maynard. The bottom four yet to score points here as well. We are just going into qualifying as we are speaking. We've got 25 drivers on the grid. We can have a chat with Mr. Tom Cairns now. Tom, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
Thank you very much, James. Hello to you, everyone. Gearing up for some GT4 action around this legendary the Nürburgring circuit. I was going to use another word there, but I'll just play it safe and just say wonderful, historic Nürburgring racetrack. But yes, instead of the 147 corner Nordschleife that I'm sure everyone is familiar with, it is the 15 corner configuration of Nürburgring that the drivers are using. As you've mentioned, they've just started qualifying now. They're on their first flying laps. 15 minutes it will be, so they're probably looking around 6 or 7 flying laps at best, which will determine the grid for just the one race. 40 minutes it will be, with a pit stop involved because these cars don't have the fuel tanks to do a whole race distance of 40 minutes. So there will be a pit stop required for each driver. So it could be some brilliant action here in Germany as they all make their way through the Michael Schumacher S, of course named after the 7-time Formula 1 World Champion himself. And yeah, there's none other like Nürburgring. Last hosted a Formula 1 race in 2020 as the Eiffel Grand Prix. The Nürburgring has hosted a number of F1 races under different titles, I think 4 in total actually. The German Grand Prix, the European Grand Prix, the Luxembourg Grand Prix, and as I've just mentioned, the Eiffel Grand Prix. I don't think it'll be coming back anytime soon though, obviously money speaks. But there's nothing to take away about the challenges that this circuit can deliver to a driver. It still hosts events like the 24-hour of Nürburgring. Can't remember which championship. It's certainly not the World Endurance Championship. I'm sure you know where I'm coming from with that. Because a good colleague of mine, of Alex Brundle, has contested here at the Nürburgring this year. So phenomenal to see these drivers looking forward to a brilliant circuit of the Nürburgring to contest this evening.
Yeah, it should be a good one. We've got Davidson out in front at the moment on a 2:03.32. Yeah, as we're in to the first 5 minutes of qualifying. We'll see how they get on. At the moment, it is dry. But I can also tell you, there is a rumour that just as the race starts, it might be wet. So they're going to have to do a lot of thinking before they get out onto the grid, because if it is going to rain, then it's basically going to rain right near the start of the race. And that is a decision that they do not want to be able to deal with at the same time, because let's face it, it will be absolutely horrendous trying to do with whether or not to take slicks, whether or not to take wets. Well, we're going to find out as these guys are battling out. Richard Phillips leads the AMS at the moment in time as well. Richard in that Aston Martin, doing a great job, sitting in 7th overall, first in the AMS. He has got Ian Pfeiffer behind him, and Ian's in 2nd place at this moment in time. Kieran Sharp's on a purple and a green with a yellow in the middle. Volkan is a green and a purple. His roles reversed compared to Kieran Sharp. Now Volkan's got 1 win this season already. Kieran's got 2, so that's something that we need to keep out for, whether or not Volkan's going to be looking and trying to improve that situation to make sure that he can match up with Kieran Sharp. We have had round 3 at Navarra. That was won by, funny enough, Kieran Sharp, then Josh Millington and Tom Davidson, where the podium position places. And then obviously we've got round 4 here today. Round 5 is at Long Beach, and round 6 is at Mosport. So keep an eye out for that one. Tom Davidson coming around with 2 greens, 2 purples at the moment in that Aston Martin. He's going to go over the line. Kieran Sharp's done a 2:02. He was pole for about all of a split second. 2:02.693 from Tom Davidson in that Aston Martin. Kieran did say in the green room, Tom, that McLaren isn't the best here, but then he's going to put it on 2nd place.
Well, there's a lot more to come. There's a lot of drivers still yet to post a lap time, according to the timing pages that we've got here. The last I saw, I think we were expecting 25 drivers on the grid. Bearing in mind, some are in Pro, others are in AM. So I wouldn't be able to tell you straight away how many of each class we have got. But there's a long way to go. We obviously expect the Pro drivers to be quicker than the AMs comprehensively. But yeah, there's a long way to go. There's still some drivers yet to post lap times there. Tom Davidson putting his best time on the board. Good enough for provisional pole position. I'm just wondering if there's any drivers out there that'll be looking to beat that in the near future. Phillips has gone over the line to go up the order, Richard Phillips that is, in the Aston Martin. He's gone up into, where is he now there? He's just been pushed down, but he's 7th overall, and he's fastest out of all the AM drivers. Yeah,
Gergely Kinsabo hopefully should get a time on the board this time around. He's been obviously off the side of the circuit. If you're not getting any times on the board, that would be why. And by what I can see, again, Gergely Kinsabo does not get a time on the board. So for him, unfortunately, off tracks are plenty for Gergely at the moment, as I see 4 registered with us up here in the booth. Some of the others have got a lot more. Bobby Moss is sitting on 5. There's a couple of others as well. Mav Gardner is also on 5, and Pierre-Antoine Dallaire is also on 5. So they've got to all make sure they can get lap times in. There are currently 10 AMs out of this grid. That makes literally will leave us with, I think it's about 17 pros, is it? 1, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 pros. So 25 cars on the grid, 10 AMs, 15 pros here. It should technically be a top 15 pro, right? And then the AMs come in after, but it doesn't always work out like that.
No, I think some drivers do sort of find more out of the machines, and those in pro, particularly the likes of Bobby Moss and Andrew Pike, have yet to find their feet at the moment. I don't know how much practice they have had in the session prior to qualifying, but it feels like they've not quite got the car underneath them like others have done, hence why Piper and Phillips are ahead of those in pro on merit. So 9 minutes into the session then, 6 to go. Davidson still holds the advantage over McCurden in second place. It's Kieran Sharp and Hamlin next behind. And Jamie Knuckle and Nick Clibban's doing rather well in 5th and 6th in Aston Martin and McLaren. And then we've got 3 Mercs actually of Arthur Gustams, Liam Giles and Felix Smoggy rounding out the top 9 there. And then it's Phillips, the fastest out of all those in in his Aston Martin.
Yeah, Gergely Katsaba gets the bank time on the board there, 2:03.990. That's probably more of a banker than anything else at this moment in time for Gergely Katsaba, because he needs it. He needs a time on the board, and at the moment he is down in 12th place, 10th in class. Tom Davidson, green, yellow, purple. Now we've got another yellow there as well, which means he's not going quicker than his best lap time. He's going to have to be a little bit careful running the curbs on the outside, coming around the Coca-Cola curb. He's got to be a little bit more careful, to be honest, because I've seen him spin people round when you try and accelerate too much over a curb. He's got a purple in the last one, 2:02.623, goes quicker again. Tom Davidson looking absolutely unstoppable here at this moment in time as well. Tom, if he's doing this in qualifying, what's he going to do in the race?
Well, qualifying's one thing, the race is a totally different matter, and bearing in mind with the rain on the horizon, how much practice have all these drivers done on this circuit in the rain? And that is the £1 million question that remains to be answered. I mean, in the championship so far, Tom Davidson's had 2 third places and a second, but given that there's a dropped score involved in the championship, they've dropped the third place, one of the third places that Davison has conjured up. And yeah, so he's had a good season so far, it has to be said. They'll want to try and get a win if he can close down the arrears with the likes of Kieran Sharp and Josh Millinson involved in McCurden.
Yeah,
so a race win is very much necessary, I would say.
Yeah, it's always difficult. It's always difficult when you've got so many fast people in this field, right? And I think it's always going to be difficult to see what you can and cannot do. You know, realistically, if I give you an idea of the strength of field here this evening, you know, in the AMs it's nearly 2K, and in the pros it's 3.7. You know, that's a massive, massive difference between the pro and AMs, but also in the pros it means some are sitting at 5, 4.2, 4.3, 3.6. None of them are slouches in these cars, right? Anything above 2.5k you generally get labelled as a little bit of an alien. So, you know, for these guys, they're probably way up into that area of, you know, being in that alien category. You know, this isn't a slow GT4 grid by any shape of the imagination. This is some very, very, very quick guys. And some of these are, you know, competition for most other pros that were around nowadays from other leagues. So it's always going to be tough for, you know, the people that are struggling. Gergely Katsaba, Burt Raven, Bobby Moss, you know, Andrew Pike, they're down in the pros, but they're 12th, 13th, 14th and 15th overall. because it shows the extent of the pro field and shows the extent that they've, you know, got a lot to try and contend with here, Tom, at the moment.
Yeah, well, Andrew Python up the order now with his latest lap at 2 minute 3.8, sandwiching in between two AM drivers there of Phillips and Pfeiffer. Is there anything left in these tyres, do you reckon?
No, they're basically trying to improve by thousandths, and at the moment it's just generally not going to happen. You know, you get to a certain point of qualifying where it just lolls off, and then you can't go any faster. You are literally scraping the barrel for any sort of time that you can get. And I think that's the thing. You've got to be aware that when you get to a certain point, like Davidson's given up, Sharp's in the pit lane, people out there who expect to try and improve, Gurgley, Cansabo, Bart Raven, Bobby Moss are all in there. Andrew Pike as well, he's just gone and improved himself up into 12. You know, there's into 11th, sorry. So the people that are struggling down in 11th, 13th, 14th, 15th, possibly Smoggy and Gustams, they might be looking for improvements. But some of these others now are just going to be sat in that pit lane and thinking, well, there isn't a lot I can do from this now. I'm just going to go back to the pits because, let's face it, you're looking for thousandths of a second that you might never find.
Yeah. One driver's not made it out of the pits at all is Ron Maynard in his Aston Martin. Don't know what's up with him at the moment. I don't know whether he was actually involved in practice before quali had begun. So we'll hope to see him take the start of the event. We've got less than 30 seconds to go. Drivers, as you mentioned, are trying to find thousandths of a second, or perhaps the odd tenth if they can find a draft from the car ahead.
Well, yeah, they might. If they can find a draft, they might be able to improve, right? But they haven't got long. They've got about 8 seconds. So if they don't, then these guys are not going to get across the line, you know, and that's the thing they've got to be looking out for, is the end of qualifying. They'll have a chance if they have got over the line beforehand to pretty much most of these should be able to get over the line to finish their lap off. But other than that, they're going to be where they are, and if they're not improving at the moment, Patrick Din in 16th is improving. Richard Phillips is going to be touch and go, depending on what is the offset of the yellow to the green is and what he does in this final sector. Again, David Long's not improving. Stefan Mellis isn't going to improve. Bert Gurgley Cansabo, if he can get another green sector, which he has done, that might have offset the yellow from sector 1, depending on what the gap time is. So that could be an improvement for Gurgley Cansabo, and he might go up from 13th because, you know, he's had a bit of a rough qualifying.
Yeah. Well, one driver that did improve on his last time lap was Andrew Pike. He's able to move up into 9th position now. So all of the top 10 are pro drivers. And then we've got Richard Phillips, who's the fastest out of all those in AM. Cansabo's coming around the KNG chicane before the right-hander prior to the pits. What can he do here? Well, there's a lot of greens throughout his lap, so he could well move up the order here. Should go in front of Phillips and Pfeiffer with this effort.
Yes.
Is it enough? It is. P10.
Yeah, he jumps up into P10 there for Gurgley Cansabo. Some of the others, Jamie Nuttall, Gullum Hamlin, Bobby Moss, not improving. Louis Heskev is another one that's possibly not going to improve either. I don't think the 3 yellows is going to be offset by that 1 green. I can't actually see that would be a massive offset, but let's have a look as he goes over the line for Louis Heskev. 2:05.149, best time so far. 2:04.403. Go Louis Heskev, prove me wrong, son. Get a faster lap time. Well, impressive from him. Nick Clibbons, 2:03.743. No improvements from him either. So qualifying is all done and dusted. We're going to be ready to go for this 40-minute race. 44% fuel, do not forget. Possibility of a chance of rain. Well, let's see whether or not we're going to have it once the session swaps over, and we'll be able to tell basically whether or not there's going to be rain right at the beginning. And that is one of the greatest equalizers ever in F1 and in racing generally for the rain that you'll probably ever see. Rain is a massive equalizer when it comes to tracks, Tom, and I think it's something that doesn't get enough respect for what it can do for racing, apart from obviously cause chaos.
Well, you can never really predict anything in the rain because it could be someone who perhaps regarded as a rainmeister. They'll be able to master the conditions, or you could end up having some form of underdog performing on the day like no other. I mean, take Ayrton Senna, for instance, in his Tolman in Monaco in 1984. Very nearly won the race, but the timing of the red flag prevented him from getting that win. But nevertheless, it was a very, very strong performance for a car that had no right of being anywhere near the front. Of course, the Nürburgring has had its fair share of rain. I'm sure some of those remember 2007, where Marcus Winkelhock, who was in for a one-off replacement for a sacked full-time driver, and he remarkably started from the pit lane to get up into the race lead within 2 laps.
Very good job there, but here's the grid for the GT4 Series 1. Round 4, Tom Davidson in pole position, Volkan Bakirden in second, Kieran Sharp in third, then Gwilym Hamlin fourth, Jamie Nuttall in fifth, Liam Giles in sixth, Nick Clemens in seventh, Artur Gustams in eighth, Andrew Pike, great job in here, getting himself up into ninth, Gargly Kinsabo in 10th, then Felix Smogy in 11th, Richard Phillips rounds out the top 12, then you've got Ian Pfeiffer in 13th, Bart Raven 14th, Bobby Moss 15th, Patrick Dean 16th, Louis Heskov in 17th, Vinny Sobravaria in 18th, Stefan Mellis 19th, David Long in 20th, then Johnny Wu, Matt Smith, Pierre Antoine and Matt Gardner rounds out the 24th, and Ron Maynard, not entirely sure if he is going to make the grid, but he's sitting down in 25th here as well. So let's see how they go. They are starting out. The backside of the circuit will be a quarter of a pace lap here as well. Up the Advan Bogdan they go before they go into the NGK chicane, which is the left-right at the end there, then round Coca-Cola curve before running down to that start-finish straight. So hold on to your hats, guys. It's going to get very, very interesting once more. Who's going to come out on front? Who's going to come out? Is it going to be Tom Davidson? Is it going to be Volkan Bakirden, Kieran Sharp, Gwilym Hamlin, Jamie Nuttall, Liam Giles, Artur Gustams, Nick Clemens? Who's going to take the victory here this evening? Well, in about 40 minutes time, we are going to find out here. The pace car did not go in. No, the pace car has not gone in. So we're going to do a lap and a half of this circuit. Well, that's different. I was expecting the pace car to pull off.
Well, at least that buys us some time to discuss how the race is going to go, because the first lap is, well, I say the first lap, I mean, we'll get the 40 minutes of racing. So the safety car timing will not take away any of the 40 minutes that we have got on offer for the race.
No,
thankfully not.
No, that stumped me a little bit, because I was like, pace car's going to... No, he hasn't gone in. So we're going to do a lap and a half. Handsome Stu, I'm not wearing a hat. Oh, okay. What, is there a reason you're not wearing a hat, Stu? Is there a reason on that one? I believe that's... I think that's Andrew Pike, if I'm not mistaken. I can never remember if it is or not. So, yeah. Yeah. So there we go. It will be set to 40 minutes. Interesting. Right. This pace car wants that win. He does, doesn't he? He's just,
well,
yeah. Oh, you told me to hold on to my hat. I'm not wearing a hat. All right, mate. Thank you, bud. That's fine, but yeah, hopefully it'll go in. Oh, realistically, hopefully it'll go in at the end of this lap. Yeah, there you go. Moving on.
Yeah, well, the race will get underway eventually, but yeah, it will be a rolling start once the safety car does go in. The cars will remain in the rows of two and in the correct positions. Just need to be careful they don't jump the green flag, otherwise penalties will be dished out. It's a matter of when the rain is going to hit the circuit, which could have an impact on the strategy actually. If it rains now, that could make them go into the pits for wet tyres and maybe get some fuel on board. But they may need to pit again because they may not have enough fuel in the tanks to go the whole way. So that could have a say on it, couldn't it? Yeah,
it could be. It could have a massive say, to be blatantly honest. It really does depend on... Even though it's expected, it's when it's going to get... You know what I mean? I think that's the thing. It's a probable chance that there's going to be rain. It's just when. The pace car once more comes into the NGK chicane. Hopefully, this time, he'll go and peel into the pits. And if he doesn't, yeah, then we could have a problem. So let's hope that he does go into the pits this time around. There we go. Right, he's got in. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your hats now, Stu. If you ain't got one, put one on there, bud. Because, ladies and gentlemen, round 4 at the Nürburgring. He's going to back everybody up here to try and minimise the chance getting done down into turn 1 pole by Volcan. Here we go. It's going to be green, green, green. We are off and running. Bakirden there did not get a go run. That's going to allow Kieran Sharp on the inside. 3 wide further back here as well. Be careful. We talked about the dangers of turn 1. Just because it's got 2 different lines, whether or not the entry will be tight or whether or not it'll be a wide line. But Kieran Sharp leading the way at this moment in time. Round the Mercedes arena we go. Tom Davidson sitting out in front. Bakirden sitting in 3rd. Got overtaken by Kieran Sharp right at the beginning. Round the right-hander they go, down to the Volvoline curve now, the left-hander. And at the moment here, Tom Davidson leads the way, Tom, doing a great job, did what he needed to do, got out in front.
Yeah, clean start, and Kieran Sharp making the most of going round the outside of Volkan Bakirden to go up into 2nd place, having the high ground into turn number 2. And so they are making their way through the first half of the course as they make their approach to Dunlop. Knuckle is in 4th position, Heather Gustins and Hamlin. The leader of the AM class is Piper, who's just made a move on Andrew Pike, actually, who's in Pro. So they're all settling into the race. Thankfully, no incidents so far. And a clean start from all the drivers, and I'm sure they've been briefed about how to tackle turn 1 at the start.
Yeah, to basically decide where you're going to go and decide early. There's a Porsche pulling out there as well. That's Louis Heskev. He's climbing all over the back of Richard Phillips. Jamie Nuttall is off the side of the circuit. Nuttall is off the side of the circuit. Was this done all on his own? I can safely say it kind of looks like it. Oh, too much speed. And unfortunately, the Aston Martin says nope. And Jamie Nuttall drops all the way down to the back end of the grid. Richard Phillips, Louis Heskev battling out for 2nd and 3rd in the AMs at the moment. Through NGK they go, coming into the right-hander of Coca-Cola curve. You can see the bottleneck that is caused behind him. Bart Raven, Vinny Sabraria, Bobby Moss all in there as well. Oh, Heskev's has gone round. Oh no, there's a Mercedes gone round, and Matt Smith. Louis Heskev and Matt Smith going round together there, round the final corner. Was there a tap here? Or did he just go on his own? I think by the looks of this, Tom, he went completely on his own, and he did.
Yeah, he got the power down too early there, and it looks like Matt Smith has done exactly the same.
Oh.
And 2 other cars had to take evasive action.
Yeah, Mav Gardner and Jamie Nuttall went off the side of the circuit. Artem Gustams is facing the wrong way as well. In that steady. Oh, dear me, dear sir. Come on. Steady on the old rejoin there. Pierre Antoine is up in 11th. He's on 13th for the moment, 11th in class. Don't forget, he's a pro. Just cleared up Moss, the 2 McLarens together as they're on their way down through Valvoline curve, down through the right-hander of Ford curve before they go down running into Dunlop Care. But at the moment, it is still Tom Davidson out in front. He's got 7 tenths over Kieran Sharp. He's got 7 tenths over Volcan. Then Gilliam Hamlin's got 2 seconds back. back. He's got about half a second with Smokey. He's got Liam Giles tucked up right behind him here. It's a nice little battle's developing, but there is kind of almost a little bit of a roadblock when you get back to Dallaire. Look at the cars behind him. Raven, Moss, Sabraria, Dean, Mellis, Woo, all behind him here, Tom. And look like they're all just queuing up waiting.
Yeah, very much so. And Dallaire, who I think started from the back of the field, has made his way through up into 12th position, avoiding all of the chaos that's just happened. Guston's rejoin was rather dangerous, actually, because I thought he was going to rejoin into the path of the driver. Guston's and Long of making their way through, because Mellis has had a moment somewhere, judging by the timing tower. But so far, we're looking at Mellis here, who, I don't know, he's got damage on the front of his machine there. We'll maybe need to get more.
His internet isn't ideal at the moment either, so we'll keep an eye on that one. As I say, Customs did go round. Back up front, Smokey, Hamling and Giles, with Clibbons in there as well, in the McLaren, doing a great job. This is the very tricky turn one. You know, most people go out wide and come in that way for it. But I think the problem is obviously if you come out wide, somebody's decided that they want to have a bit of a dive up the inside there. You've either got to be very aware, or you've got to have a great spotter on 100% there, Tom, who's going to tell you that somebody's there, because they don't always get picked up on that inside line.
No, definitely not. We're looking at Nick Clibbons, who's behind Giles there in the battle for 6th place. Piper's done a terrific job in 8th place, the highest out of all those in, and it's Phillips and then Den, the next two in that respective class. We're going through towards Dunlop here. Clibbon's not thinking about a move just yet. We've just seen the timing towers change to the classes now, so you have more of an idea as to how far they are behind their rivals. Davidson's lead just it's about a second now, just coming to a second over Kieran Sharp, and Vicurden is not too far back. The pit stops could change all that though, around about half race distance.
Yeah, absolutely. I do fully agree. We're only 5.5 minutes in. They've only got 35 minutes to go. They're obviously sitting on 44% fuel. Possibly might get them to about 20 minutes, 25 minutes if they've done a great little bit of a fuel saving job. Smokey up 6 places in that Mercedes. He's got Liam Giles in that Mercedes as well, pushing him along here. Are they going to be? Is there going to be a move as he goes into NGK? I don't think Giles is going to get it this time. Goes left. He's going to be looking for the exit round the right hander through Coca-Cola curve. Don't take that too much. Steady on that corner there. Round Coca-Cola curve we go. Liam Giles from the Crack Racing team chasing down Felix Smokey in front. Also from the Crack Racing team. Surely teammates have got to work together, right?
You would think so, but it's a long race.
Yes, I agree. It is a very long race there, and these guys are having a battle. And then you've got Pierre-Antoine Dallaire, who's got literally cars all the way around him. Vinny's got a car trying to go around the outside. That's Bobby Moss. There's a Mercedes, a Patrick down there. Rain is on the screen. Is on the screen. They're all still on dry tyres. But the rain is down, Tom. The rain has come down. The equalisers hit the floor.
Yeah, and who's going to blink first? Because I can't imagine the track being slow enough to be on the wet. Some may have to just trickle their way round before they choose to come into the pits. Now, if you're at the back of the field, you've not really got anything to lose. So it's about blinking first.
Yeah, I do agree. Tom Davidson 42 for the win. Well, he's out in front by about 1 second, so we'll have to see. But the rain is starting to fall. There it is on the screen. It doesn't seem quite hard enough that he's got his window wiper on, but it's on its. You can see it physically falling. So depending on how long it's going to take to basically rain soak the circuit, it will be the only time we're going to tell whether or not they're going to change, right? Are they hoping that it's going to clear up, do we think? Or do they think that at the end of the day it's all just going to go, and go wet, and then they've got to try and get to the pit stop window?
Well, the thing is, they don't want to go too early, because if it's not wet for wets, then it may be time to go back onto the 6, and it's a double whammy that way. And some will want to try and eke out the stint as much as they can before they come in, because when they come in, they'll want to add fuel into the car to go to the end of the race to save another pit stop. So it's a very hard one to call. whether they want to pit in and get the wets on. It's certainly too dry for wets. So I would reckon that everyone will try and eke out the stint as far as possible before needing to come in.
Yeah, I do agree. I think that's the thing. They need to stay out there. I'm just worried that how long it's going to take before they turn around and go, yeah, we can't do this. We can't do this. It's always tough in the rain. It will all of a sudden show, because there will just be people flying off the side of the circuit, and you'll just see them rapidly go off, and then you'll know that it's time for change. As it stopped up, no, it's still coming down. It's appearing on the window screen now. Vinny Savreria's in the pits. So maybe he's going to be changing over to wets. Is he going to be the first one that's going to make that move, do we think? And how big of a deal is it going to be, that change? They have to get it spot on. If they don't, they're going to come out on wets, they're going to do nothing, it's going to overheat, and it's all going to go Pete Tom. They stay on dries too long, track becomes wet, they go off like an absolute boat on an aquaplane in the water. So how are they going to judge this one, Tom?
Well, they've got to really understand the conditions, because some parts of the circuit may rain harder than others around the racetrack. Answering your question about Sabrovia, I think he's out, James. It looks like he's not gone any further compared to where he's at. I don't know if we'll get a replay to find out what exactly happened to him. Perhaps the wet curbs have just caught him out somewhere. Perhaps that may be the cause. Jamie Knuckle came into the pits there, but surely he's coming a little bit too soon.
He hasn't. I can tell you now, Jamie Knuckle's still on dries. There's no wet tyres taking place there. As for Vinny, yeah, there's no reason. He went, as far as I can see, he hasn't had an incident, he hasn't had a crash, he's not had a problem whatsoever. So maybe he's just had a complete and utter disconnect from the server. 10 minutes down on lap 6, half an hour to go. We've got rain falling, but is it heavy enough for wet tyres? Nuttall went in, he stayed on the dries. There's still people on the dry, well, they're all on dries. Nobody has changed as of yet. And you can see there on the left hand side, dry, 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 all the way through the grid. How long would you give it to, Tom? When do you start saying, okay, enough's enough, I need the wets?
Well, they've got to judge it by how much water is hitting the windscreen. At the moment, we're not seeing drivers using the windscreen wipers. So that gives the indication that the track isn't wet enough to go onto the wets at the present moment. So I don't think we're going to see drivers going onto the wets for another couple of laps at least, which is what they'll want, because they can pit and get the fuel they needed to go to the end of the race to save another stop for later on. So Davison will be happy to be where he's at. I mean, if he's going at the pace, we're not at the crossover point between slicks and wets just yet. So if you're not at the crossover point, there's no point switching wets just to sort of gain time over others as though you think, and then it completely backfiring you once you are on the wet tyres.
Yeah, it's got to be them slight little movements. It's got to be knowing that all of a sudden your car's on a slide. Now, it might be more visible with Gwilym, Hamlin, Smokey, Giles and Clemens, because they're kind of in a battle, right? The leader, Tom Davidson, can just take it as easy as he wants to at the moment. He's got no real worry about where he is on the track. He's got 8 temps with Kieran Sharp behind him. You know, he's got that time. These guys haven't. Hamlin, Smokey, Giles, you know, they're all part of the cracked racing team. Then they've got Nick Clibbons, who's on the iRacing esports team. You know, he's going to be looking at them thinking, do I go early or do I not? It's still not heavy enough for my windscreen wiper. It's still not even going anywhere. So do they try and get to the pit? Well, to be honest with you, I think they have to get to the pit stop window to make this pit stop count if they've got to change to wets.
Yeah, so you've got Clemens, who's just behind the 3 Crack D racing cars following suit. So Clemens in P7, and it's Hamlin, Smokey and Giles in 4th, 5th and 6th. And we've got a battle up front between Davison, Sharp and McCurden. So we've got a lot of battles going on throughout the field. Piper in Am still ahead of Phillips by a couple of positions on the road, and doing a fine job so far. And Knuckles posted his personal best lap of the race, so he probably feels it's still best being on the slicks. And yeah, he's had a race to forget so far, but he can make up for it by maybe pitting in for wets sooner than the others. See if he can gain all that time back, but it's a tall order from where he is at now. As we look at Andrew Pye behind Richard Phillips, these two are in different classes to each other.
Yeah,
So,
he's got
yeah.
Dallaire tucked up right behind him. Here, Pierre-Antoine Dallaire is chasing down Pike. This is a battle for position in class, Tom. This is 9th and 10th over, 11th and 12th overall, 9th and 10th in class. So these guys, it is all about that. We're now seeing spray. There is now spray coming off the rear wheels of Andrew Pike. It's getting heavier. It's getting heavier. The spray is a surefire way to realise that it is getting heavier here. There it is. You can see it lifting off. We're going to start trying to take the move on the inside. Through into the NGK we go. We're not going to get it. We're going to try round the outside. He's going to cut you off. No chance of trying to get it round there. Into Coca-Cola curve we go. And both men stay out again. But now the spray's coming off the car. Means it's surely getting wetter and wetter and wetter for these guys to have to go in and start looking at the pit stops.
Well, possibly, but the leaders are still setting 2-minute threes, which is kind of what they've been setting throughout the race so far. So we're not at the crossover point to go on to wet still. And you just see the battle between Dallaire and Pike still going at it. Dallaire getting the job done. But, I mean, if you're Jamie Knuckle and the driver behind him on the circuit, that is Matt Smith, is it worth taking a bit of a gamble? Not yet, because the track's still not wet enough, but I think they're going to make up all the time from their shenanigans earlier on. Then it's probably worth going for it. Knuckle posting his personal best lap of the race, a 2-minute 3.2. So he knows he's on the right tyres right now, so it's not worth going on to wets.
No, it's not, but they've got half an hour. We've broken into the first 15 minutes are cleared up. Kieran still trying to chase down Kieran Sharp. Cracked Racing slowly dropped off Nick Clevens. He's dropped back a little bit now, 1.6, 1.7 seconds, but he is coming into the hands of the leading AM here. Ian Pfeffer in 8th place overall, first in class, so he's doing a great job at the moment. Gustams is battling away with Bobby Moss. They're in that middle pack with Andrew Pike in front. So it's going to be interesting to see when this takes shape and how far can they push this before they turn around and say enough is enough. As you said, it could all be reliant on, and when they go in, it could benefit them massively or it could hinder them massively. But for now, we'll see how they go. David Long in 17th overall, sitting 4th in class. Patrick Dean in 3rd overall in the Mercedes. Funny enough, a German in a German car. What would be a surprise in that one that goes round the Coca-Cola curve here, still holding that 3rd spot in the AMS at this moment in time. So great job from Patrick Dean, but he has got David Long putting him under pressure.
Point, but we're looking at Den and Long going into combat at turn number 1. David Long on the inside in the 977, and that's enough to go through. Oh, there's a spin there. That's Bobby Moss.
He's trying to go at the inside of Pike. Has he got it stopped? He has. He's tightened up. Oh, there was a touch from the Mercedes.
Yeah.
That's Gustams pushed him round.
Yeah, that's Gustams, yeah.
Ooh, that could be up for discussion a little bit later then. Oh, not that one. Coming in the 17.5 minutes gone. We've got 23 left to go. And the rain is still falling. Still nobody's blinked to go on to wet tyres. The window wipers are still now starting to move on Gustum's car. Arto Gustums has now got the window wipers going intermittently, albeit at this moment in time. So it's going to be making a big decision very soon. I can tell you now, Kieran Sharp has got Volkan Bekirden right behind him, just trying to go up the inside through the Advan Brogan, coming into NGK. Sharp's on the right-hand side here. He's going to go hard on the brakes very, very shortly, trying to get it left. He's got to get it right. Out there, he'll staying off the curbs. He did do. He's trying to block the inside in for Coca-Cola. He did manage that. Can Bekirden get the run down the start-finish straight though, Tom, down into turn 1?
Well, if he can tuck him behind, he may have a chance. He'll want to try and do what Sharp did at the beginning of the race by going round the outside and then having the high ground into turn 2, and that's exactly what he's about to do here. Round the outside goes Bekirden on Sharp into turn number 1 of the course, but Sharp sees it and covers his line.
Yeah, and Grant won't pit until they see Rooster Tail starting to show. I see them, Grant. They are appearing on the screen as these guys do get faster and faster. You can see them now coming out the back of Kieran Sharp's McLaren there. So Rooster Tails are coming, and it's, the rain is still continuing to fall. They're starting to get a little bit spread out. Since that rain has come down, the grid is slowly starting to separate. You can see it's all the way down to Johnny Woo at the moment in the McLaren with Mav Gardner and the Aston Martin. These guys are probably one of the closest battles on the racetrack. They've started to spread a little bit, Tom, and I think the rain has got something to do with that.
Well, you'd think so, but when the rain comes down and you're on slicks, the braking distance and stopping distance increases. Hence why you don't want to be too close to the car in front in case you struggle to slow the car down on a wet track on slicks. But we are still not quite at the crossover point for wets right now. We've reached the halfway point in the race now. Davidson's lead is 1.6 seconds over Kieran Sharp, with Bekirden in 3rd place and Hamlin 6 seconds behind the final podium spot there in his 3.51. And we are seeing a battle again between Volkan Bekirden and Kieran Sharp once more. And Bekirden looking to the inside this time, but there's no way he's going to get it done there because it's too quick of a chicane to get the move done. But he needs a strong exit coming out of the Coca-Cola corner to get a good run into turn 1. He needs to have his nose in front going into the corner this time and be within a car's length alongside to stop Sharp from basically shutting the door.
Yeah, he's not going to get there. He's not going to get there whatsoever. He's going to be too far back. If he goes for it, it's going to be a dive and a half here. It'd be a better dive than Tom Daly if he gets it that far back in the rain. Same with Gwilym, Hamlin, Smokey and Giles. Obviously still part of the crap racing. Probably not pushing. They're trying to make sure they can try and get a hold of the guys in front at the moment. Phillips has just... I think he's just actually lost that position to Pierre-Antoine Dallaire, but again, that's not for a class, that's just for overall track position. Richard Phillips sitting in 2nd in the AMS at this moment in time, so unfortunately for him, he's got to try and get up to Pfeffer up in 8th, but he's looking very good, is Ian, at the moment, isn't he? He's staying in onto the back of Nick Clibbons. He's using as much as possible. Kieran Sharp and Bekirden, sorry, while I jump forward, a side-by-side go around the Coca-Cola curve. Sharp's got the inside, Bekirden's got the outside. Sharp gives him room. I think Bekirden in that advantage is going to get the job done. He has in that Aston Martin. Job done by Volkan Bekirden. Takes it into 2nd place there as well. And that just looked basically just sheer pace that Bekirden got Kieran Sharp there.
Bekirden coming into his zone now. That was a splendid overtake on Sharp on the exit of Dunlop, and now he can set his sights on race leader Tom Davidson as they come round the right-hander. I think it's the Warnsteiner corner that they've just gone through, and heading towards what will be the NGK chicane. And yeah, he's very much coming alive, is Bekirden. He's enjoying these conditions clearly, and he's using it to his advantage. And I think it's probably the middle part of the course where he's finding the most time at. So don't rule Bekirden out by any stretch as they come around to begin their 12th lap. And we've seen an overtake from Dallaire around the outside. That is Consabo. He's making his way through. So Dallaire up another place.
Yeah, there's another man doing that as well. Tim Moss tagged again, Bobby. About time you had some luck. Bobby did go off the circuit here, and that was what we watched earlier on with Gustam's it's judging, I think. What we would normally say, and I've got to be honest, if that was a NASCAR race and that had happened on an oval, I'd be sitting there saying he literally just run over him. He didn't look like he made any effort to brake. He didn't look like any effort to try and get round him. It kind of just looked like that Gustam's kind of just ran ran him over, almost is the terminology, I think. And I'm kind of not seeing any evasive action at all from Gustams. I don't even think there was any brake lights in the process to try and stop that one. He did almost look like he just ran over Bobby Moss. Look, no brake lights, no steering, and just runs him over. So, yeah, I would be, if I was Moss on that, I would be definitely a little bit aggrieved, Tim, I've got to be honest.
Yeah, McCurden's all over the back of Davison now for the race lead, and he's looking to maybe try and do what he did on Sharp on the previous lap. Now, in fact, Davison's letting him go through by the looks of it. On the inside goes McCurden on Davison into the left-hander of Michelin, and that looks like a planned move there because Davison did not fight that.
Yeah, I think the thing is, you're kind of erring on the side of the caution a lot of time, aren't you? And if somebody's is visually quicker, and McCurden is visually quicker, and we've seen him game time, it's very hard to fight it. As Hamlin here in the BMW's just lost that place to Felix Smoggy. They are in the same team, so I don't think it was probably a too complicated trip for them to go through. Ian there in the AMS for the Satellite Racing, still tucked in behind Nick Clibbons. There's somebody in the pits on the right hand side. There's one of the Crack Racing boys. That's the BMW of Gwilym Hamlin into the pits. So Hamlin could be the first one to blink here. Yeah,
if he pulls this off, this would be a remarkable decision. We'll see whether he's going on to wets or whether he'll just go on slicks once more. I think it's a matter of time. In fact, Delaire's in the pits as well. Is he going on wets? That's the £1 million question we want to find out. At the end of lap 12 then, 15 minutes to go in this race. Anyone else coming in? Gardner's in as well. Jamie Knuckle should come in at the end of the because he's got enough. Yeah, Wu's come in. So we've got 4 drivers in the pits, but are all of them going to be on wets?
Yeah, Hamlin's on wets, Delaire's on wets. I expect Matt Gardner and Johnny Wu to also join them. If they don't, well, yeah, boys, a little bit crazy. But we'll keep an eye on what Hamlin can do here with these wet tyres on and see what sort of times he's putting in. Andrew Pike is in a good old ding-dong with Bart Raven, and then David Long is behind him. So Pike just to try and go around the outside of Ford Curve. Is he going to get that run down into Coca-Cola? He looks like he should do. Raven's got onto the grass. Now it's all about what Pike can do. Is he going to be brave enough to send out the inside, or is David Long going to have a go? Pike pulls out to cover him. Very late cover off. Long's going to try and go around the outside of Coca-Cola. He's leaning on Pike. Pike opens up the steering. Now Long's going to try and come underneath him. He's not going to get the job done there either. Bart Raven has caught up to Richard Phillips, who looks like he's struggling. I think now is the time, Tom. These wet tyres are needed because it looks like a couple of these people are more Bambi on ice than an Aston Martin on a racetrack.
Yeah, well, are all the leaders going to come in at the same time? That's what we want to know. And I think it's important to make sure we keep an eye on the sector times from those who have just come out of the pit lane. Now, the first sector is irrelevant, but the second sector is ideally what we want to find out. Because obviously there's B sectors and L sectors, aren't they? So, but at least we get more of an idea as to what kind of times they are setting those on the wet tyres.
Yeah, well, Gwilym Hamlin is one of the first ones to go in. Tom Davidson is into the pits now. Has Tom struggled on them dries, and is Gwilym Hamlin going to be able to get up and get near him coming into the left-hander of the Michelin curve? Then they go round the right-hander of Rosteiner into Van Bogan, and then he's got NGK to finish off. Davidson's in, Phillips is in, Raven's in, Dean's in, Heskev's in. The top 11 have still not pitted, and I can tell you now, Tom Davidson is on rain tyres. So where would Gwilym Hamlin be? He's on his run down Ad Van Bogan into the NGK. No, Davidson's still in the pits. He's on his way out now, so Davidson should still technically retain the on-track lead here after this pit stop cycle is done, because it depends on how late Bekierden, Sharp, Smoggy, Pfeiffer, Giles, Clibbons, Consabo and Gustams all go into the pits, and it looks like wets are the call.
Yeah, Davison struggling to get the car into turn one there. That's the thing with cold tyres for you. But Hamlin, he's ahead of the likes of Phillips, Raven and Hesketh, so he's clearly on the right tyres. Ignore the lap time he's posted, that's his outlap. But now it's all down to Bekierden and Sharp on whether they decide to come in at the end. I think with the rain getting heavier, I would say this is probably the lap they need to come in.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're either going to go in now, but Bekierden's looking so comfortable. Does he go in? That's the question. And I don't know if Patrick Dean has put the wrong tyres on here, but he's done the pit lane, as has Bert Raven. Both men are still on dries, and so are Matt Smith. So Matt Smith is another one from the Crap Racing who's come out the pit lane and is still on dry tyres. Bekierden's in, Sharp's in. So where is Tom Davidson? Oh, he's coming around the Coca-Cola curve. Around the Dunlop curve through the Schumacher S's. This is going to be, well, it could be very tight here with these guys coming out the pit lane.
Yeah, it could be very, very close. I'm concerned as to how close these are going to be. Did Davison maybe go a little too soon? Maybe one lap too soon? We'll find out. Giles has stayed out though, interestingly, probably because he feels the track is still not wet enough. Bekierden and Sharp are out of the pits now. Tom Davison's a long, long way behind these. He came in too soon.
Yeah, because they're still on dries.
They're still on dries, yeah, absolutely right.
They're still on dries. Bekierden through the Mercedes. Kieran Sharp also still on dry tyres. Clemens is wet. Gustams is on what's he on? He's on wet as well. So there's a very mixed field of who is on what at the moment. Smokey's been into the pits. He's on dries. He's got Ian Pfeiffer behind. It's also on dries. Jamie Nuttall's on dries. Sabo's on dries. And as you can see on the left-hand side, there's probably 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, half the field possibly on wets here, and half the other field on dries. Who's made the right choice?
Well, Pfeiffer's gone on to slicks as well, so that could pay dividends for his race. He's behind Smoggy for 4th overall. Davison's the highest out of all those on the wets. He is in 9th position behind Andrew Pike, who I don't believe has pitted yet. So Davison's got a bit all to do.
Has he done too much, do we think? Has he got in too early? And that's the problem. He's got in a little bit early on the wets, or has he changed anything? It didn't need to.
Well, the next time when he comes around onto the pit straight, we'll see what lap time he is posting, whereas Bekierden and Sharp are only just on their outlaps. So we'll see what kind of lap times we are seeing between those on slicks and those on the wets. We've just seen times as 2 minutes 14 from the likes of Hamlin, Gustins and Dallaire. They're on wets. A driver on slicks, which is Patrick Den. What lap times is he posting at the moment? He's done a 2:46.
Yeah, that was his outlap after the pit stop. I don't think we can really count that. You can see Bekierden 2:40, Sharp 2:38 as well. So I don't really think we can take these into consideration as consistent lap times. It's like Tom Davidson's 3:10. He was in the pit lane for 1 minute and 4 seconds, mind you. So there was either a really tough penalty. There was either a penalty involved for Tom Davidson there, because it puts him round about 25 seconds behind everybody else. The Chaos Druid, JP, you old smoothie. Thanks, mate. How are you? As it goes over the line, what did Davidson do here? 2:13.968.
So comparing Davison's time, I'm just trying to find someone who's still on slicks. Well, I can say that Jamie Knuckle, who's not pitted in this race, is still on the slicks. What time?
2:10.
What time is he? Is it 2:10? So clearly the slicks are still, and that's just on old slicks.
Are we going to see this illusion that the rain was going to come, it was going to stay, and now it's gone? Because at the moment, oh, careful, as if ever Liam Giles almost making contact down at the Dunlop curve. Window wipers are still, I'm surprised that they are not struggling. Where is Tom Davidson? Can he not get these wets to work? Or is it just not wet enough? They've got to be, he's got to be on the cusp. He's got to be a millimetre away from doing lap times that are considerably quicker than the Bambis that we've got out on the dries. I don't get this at the moment. It's still raining and they've still got window wipers aplenty, but they're still going quick. Is it just not making a difference here?
Well, he's not even making up ground on Andrew Pike, who is on slicks. So that probably wasn't the right decision for Davidson to go onto wets after all. We're seeing Piper, I think that Marcus got through those out. Giles.
No, that's for position. That was Giles. How far back is Davidson from the lead here? This seems ridiculous. He's 37 seconds back. He's not making inroads. We got Piper on the right, Giles on the left, two Mercedes door banging their way down to turn one. Who's going to be able to get it stopped? Rooster tails are plenty. Oh, nope, it ain't Giles. It ain't Giles getting it stopped there. Another Mercedes, a Felix Smokey having to go around the outside as well. The Crack Racing boys. Oh no! Is that the moment? Is that the change we needed? Is this the catalyst of what's going to happen in the rain? It always takes something to go poof. And is it going to be Giles going round? Because he's sitting down in sixth at the moment. Is Tom Davidson going to deal? Oh, he's out. Where's he gone?
No, he's back in.
Oh,
he's
back
still in.
Oh. Is this the catalyst of where Tom Davidson is now 39 seconds back?
Yeah, he's lost around about 1.5 seconds on Andrew Pike in the last lap alone. He is struggling right now, is Tom Davidson. At least he's ahead of Mellis and all that. But, yeah, you can just see he's fighting the car a little bit too much. He's not finding the grip that he's after. And, yeah, he'll be regretting going on to wet. Compared to Bekirden and Sharp, who have gone on for another set of slicks. You can see Mellis there, who has been overtaken by Bobby Moss now, who is recovering nicely actually after that spin, following contact with Arthur Gustams at turn one. And could he maybe go after Tom Davidson in this race? We're certainly making up ground on the Brit. And we could well see him in 9th position by the race end. And that could be important for the championship, bearing in mind. Bekirden in the race lead, but Sharp is not far behind. They are crossing over the line. They've got 2 laps to go in this race. It's game on between the drivers in the 54 and the 23.
Yeah, but how is... I don't get that we've had rain for about 15 minutes. Solid rain, and it isn't making a difference to the racetrack. That's what I'm confused about. Why are they not struggling? I don't get that.
Well, the leaders have just gone over the line. They've done 2-minute 12s. And what about Tom Davidson? We want to see how he compares to those. He's obviously still struggling, but we want to see what the difference actually is. Being on wets compared to being on slicks. I would say around 2 minutes 17 or something like that. He's
2:16.
probably doing 2 minutes 16. So he's losing 4 seconds a lap compared to Bekirden and Sharp.
That's crazy. Rain for 15 minutes, and it doesn't look like he's made an ounce of difference to the racetrack, which I don't understand that one. Weather, well, overcast, 21 degrees on track temperature, 19 degrees air, and yet the rain has done nothing. It's really just sort of almost put Davidson out of thoughts as he's going to lose a place to Bobby Moss here as well. Through the Valvoline curve they go. Then they're going to have the right-hander of the Ford curve. And Bobby Moss just sweeps around the outside and says, thank you very much. I'm amiss. I am somewhat amiss here, Tom.
Yeah, and he's about to be overtaken by Mellis, who will also be on the slicks. I mean, Tom Davidson at this rate, he's got enough of a margin, I would say, over Den, because I don't think Den will make up that amount of time in one lap. But Davidson, he's very, very much struggling. Bikuden is about to start his final lap.
Yeah. I don't think Sharp's going to get near him either. Going to be the final lap of the race. Where is Barney? Should be down here on the right hand side. Well, I can tell you now it is going to be the final lap. It looks like Barney's on holiday for the evening here. And Nuttall looks like he's going to be moving up. He's side by side with Smokey coming down in front of us, down into turn one. Nuttall on the left, Smokey on the right. It's Aston versus Mercedes. Who's going to be able to get this run down into turn one? Surely Nuttall's got to, he's got to get it stopped. Oh, big twitch. Didn't get it stopped. Smokey says, thank you very much. I'll have that third place.
Yeah, and Knuckles done a remarkable job to get back up to where he is at after a terrible beginning. And now we're looking at the top two once more. Mellis has got in front of Davidson now into 10th position. Den's not going to catch up to Davidson, I would have thought, but that won't matter anyway because they're in different classes. But Davidson's going to lose further ground in the title battle. As far as the championship is concerned, Kieran Sharp is going to not extend his lead over Bikuden, but Josh Millington, who's not around this evening, unfortunately, he's going to fall further and further back. So this is falling actually into place nicely for Kieran Sharp in the championship race.
Yeah, definitely is. But Bikuden's just looked so strong. Unbelievably strong here this evening. Even when the rain started to fall, Bikuden just drove the car like it was dry. And he's opened up 8 tenths at the moment through the left-hander of the Michelin curve they go. Then the right-hander of Vastiner curve. And now they've got 1, 2, 3 more corners to go. And Volkan Bikuden absolutely flying. Doing a great job. He's going to take his second win of the season, tied with Kieran Sharp. Both of these on 2 wins. And Bikuden is going to get this job done, bar any major issues into NGK. Through the left, through the right. Over, he misses the curb on the right-hand side. Round through Coca-Cola we go. And Volkan Bikuden, unfortunately, comes round without any problems for Kieran Sharp. Over the line he goes. He takes that victory. Kieran Sharp in second. Jamie Nuttall, Smokey is still not finished. Coming round the final corner, it looks like Smokey's going to take that third place. I don't think Nuttall was going to get there. Nuttall up 1 place, Smokey up 8. He comes over the line. A great job from him. Ian Pfeiffer in the AMS is going to win that one. Great job from Ian in the AMS there, with Stefan Mellis wrapping up the second place and Patrick Dean wrapping up third in the AMS there as well. Tom Davidson, do you reckon an opportunity? Is it just a wrong decision that's cost him today?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, even if he finished third today, he would have taken that over what he had done. I mean, that was a really poor judgment call by his standards, and so he's ended up 9th in class, and he's got too much to do now in the last 2 races if he has any chance of taking the championship. But at least he can use this, I think. I don't know if it's his drop score, his worst result. It is his worst result this season, so at least the 3rd place he had in Sebring a couple of rounds ago will now count towards his championship score.
Yeah, Bart Raven comes over the line in 17th overall. And then Louis Heskev will come round behind him. Louis in that Porsche had a little bit of a moment. Unfortunately, he did have another moment here as well. Going down into turn 1 here, Louis Heskev. Going to catch the curb there? Nope. However, the Porsche is going to do whatever it decides it wants to. Goes in too deep, gets it rotated. But yeah, it cost him some time there. Matt Smith and Johnny Wu over the line. And that are the last of the runners here as well. So let's bring you up the final finishing places. In the AM class, it's Ian Pfeiffer is out in first place at the moment, and he did take the victory in the AMs there when it decides that it wants to behave itself. What are you doing, dear sir? Here we go. Volker McKiernan is your winner with Kieran Sharp in second, Felix Smogy in third, and Jamie Nuttall in fourth. Liam Giles managed to get fifth. Ian Pfeiffer in sixth place, taking the win in the AMs. Gergely Consabo got his way back up into seventh. Great job from him. Andrew Pike up into eighth, and then Bobby Moss recovering to ninth. Stefan Mellis rubbing out second in the AMs in 10th. Tom Davidson in 11th. Patrick Dean is third in the AMs, but 12th overall, and Nick Clemens 13th. Arthur Gustams might have some apologising to do to Bobby Moss there in 14th. Then you've got David Long, Gwilym Hamlin, Bart Raven, Louis Hilskeb and Richard Phillips rounding out the 18-19. Then you've got Matt Smith in 20th, Johnny Wu, Pierre-Antoine, Mav Gardner. Then you've got the people who didn't finish, so Bravia and Ron Maynard did not take to the start. So great job from some. Opportunity missed from others, though. I think that could be one of the things that's could be the story of the day, but let's have a chat with one Mr. Louis Heskeb. He was in the Porsche, finished fifth in class here this evening as well. Louis, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
I've been better.
Rough race?
I've been better.
That would mean it was definitely a rough race. How was it out? What was the thought process between the dries and the wets? We saw people go onto the wets. You were one of them, and then you just lost a bunch of time. Wrong choice, do you think?
Yeah, I saw someone who appeared onto the wets like extremely early, and I was just checking on my race labs to see what times he was doing. And when our times on slick started to go down, I had to pit. So I was like, chuck myself on wets because I didn't have much to lose, to be honest with you. But it was the wrong call, lost time. So next time I know to be more patient when making choices like this. And I feel like if I'd stayed on slicks, I could have done much better in the race.
Yeah, I think the slick runners were still doing times about 3 to 4 seconds quicker than the people on the wets. Is it a surprise that the rain didn't make much of a difference, to be fair, to the conditions out there?
Definitely. I was dead certain when I was coming in that I would be flying past people who were risking staying out, but it was never time for wets at all in the race, which is unfortunate.
I think that's where the surprise was for me up in the booth. I think the fact that I've never seen a racetrack that got soaked in rain for about 20 minutes and it didn't make a blind bit of difference. It still looks dry towards the end. It's done nothing. Either the drainage at the Nürburgring is absolutely exceptional, or it just wasn't consistent heavy enough for it to make a difference in there, Louis. You know, is that from a driver's point of view, is that a shock to you as well? Because you did have rain for a good 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's 100% a shock. I was just shocked. When the BMW M4 passed me, same lap we went out, I knew it was in slicks. I was just gobsmacked. I was taking a wet line because the dry line was just no grip. He was taking a wet line 2 on slicks, and he's just sailing past me with ease. Like, I was just amazed.
Yeah, it literally didn't seem to make any difference whatsoever, Louis. But thanks so much for jumping up in the booth with us there, buddy. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
I just want to say thank you to Friday Sport for providing me with data to go off and the car.
Awesome stuff. Well, Louis, thanks so much there, buddy, and look forward to seeing what you can do at Long Beach. Right, and next up we will have a chat with Mr. Pike at one position in that Porsche, of course. Took it to 8th place in the end. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, boys. All right, thank you. How are you?
I'm not bad at all, to be fair, mate. I've seen a bit of a weird race. I've seen it rain for 20 minutes on the race circuit, and the dries were still faster than the wets.
They were, yes, but the pace drop-off from early in the race to late in the race was massive, like over 10 seconds.
10 seconds, yeah.
It just didn't cross over to where the wets were stronger. So some of the lads that took wets overheated them early on, and then by the time it was wet enough, their tyres weren't really able to cope. So if the race had been much longer than it was, then I certainly would have taken wets. I ran the tank out and just looked at how long was left and thought, well, there's still enough grip to tiptoe around. Looks like sort of 2 minutes 12, 2 minutes 13 is around about the crossover. So I chanced it. I had nothing to lose. I'd moved backwards from 9th to about 14th or 15th going into the pit. So roll the dice. It's easy for me to do that from back where I am. But for instance, Tom, who was leading the race, he's got to have approach that with a much more sensible head. But sadly for him, it's not paid off there.
Yeah, I think this is what Louis said as well. He was quite surprised by how little the rain made a difference. And I was just as shocked up here as well. I've never seen a race where it's rained for 20 minutes and the track's not changed over. Normally you get about 10 minutes of rain and we've got Bambi on ices going off everywhere. You know, it's like boats on the water. But this didn't seem to do a lot of difference here. Obviously there was a drop-off, but it wasn't all of a sudden, right, wets are now the tyres to go.
No, it was very progressive, but it's also very light rain. And on track, we can't see that. We can only see the chance of rain. We can't see the intensity of it, but it hasn't rained hard there. It's just rained consistently. So that's the really nice part of the wet physics here on iRacing, is it's not just like flicking a switch. There's a progression there, and you can lose or gain based on how you judge that and what the weather does. You can get dry. Some of the track was wetter than other parts, for instance, as well. The latter part of the lap was a bit trickier than the earlier part. And just towards the end there, the rubbered line was starting to get difficult. People you might have seen starting to move slightly offline in the braking zones and things. It was just one of those races where, I mean, as a spectacle for you to watch, the uncertainty and the slow changeover is perfect. But for us driving, that was tricky. So it's nice to gain back the spots I lost at least.
I think it was just confusion up here in the booth, mate. That was it, literally why it just wasn't changing over. But listen, thanks so much for joining us. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Just the hideous Stu. I've heard he's loitering in your YouTube chat.
He is, yep.
So I'll give him a brief shout, and the rest of the TSRC boys for taking wets and ruining themselves.
Oh, man, well done. Getting back up into 8th there, bud. And let's see what you can do at Long Beach.
Yeah, nice. Thanks a lot.
Take care, man.
Cheers, guys.
Right, and next up is the man that finished 2nd in the AMS of my dear friend, Mr. Stefan Mellis. Stefan, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
Good evening. How are you?
Very well, mate. How's it going?
It's going very well. First race here, and second, it's not too bad.
No, not too bad at all. I had tricky conditions. I know I've spoken to the other two about this that's just come in, but it's tricky conditions out there, wasn't it? It was not wet enough for dries, but your dries are dropping off to about a 10-second lap difference between what you were doing at the beginning to what you were doing at the end.
I didn't have a clue of my times, but I know that I had a lot of problems in the last few turns of the last few laps. I was doubting, shall I switch to wet or not, until I was just before the pit. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I think there was probably most of the race circuit out there didn't, to be honest, mate. I don't think a lot of them had a clue what to do in these conditions. It was
exactly
so tough. But, going forward for you, first race, second, going to Long Beach next week. Are we going to see Stefan Mellis actually practicing for Long Beach?
Of course.
Come on. Don't sit there saying, of course. I know, I've heard, you rocking up in just using the practice session and that's it. You know what I mean?
I just started Long Beach now. No. Just kidding.
I was going to say, you definitely have not there. But what do you reckon your chances would be of taking the AM win at Long Beach?
I have no clue. I've driven there once or twice, and it's not an easy track, especially one turn. It's not the last turn. This is not to be happy from. It's a very difficult turn. If I'm correct, Long Beach.
Yeah. The last chicane is horrible.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know.
All right, Stefan. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Anyone you want to shout out before I let you go, buddy?
you guys and the organization and of course my wife. She's supporting me all the time. So
Go on, Mrs. Mellis. Give your man a big shout right there, you know what I mean? Go for it. Stefan,
she can't hear you, I think.
Oh, good.
I'm in VR.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully she's going, hi, Mrs. Mellis. Hope you've had a wonderful evening watching your man do his thing, y'all. So there you go. Stefan, it's been a pleasure talking to you, as it always is, mate. I'll catch up with you at Long Beach.
Of course. Thank you.
Take care, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right, and next up is your winner. Good evening, Ian. How are you?
Good evening. Good evening. Pretty great. Finally, first win of this championship after 3 P2. So it's great to finally be in this first place, and especially with this tricky condition. I think a lot of you ask a lot of driver before about that. Yeah, it has been really tricky, and I kind of like the tricky conditions. So I was hoping for a good performance, and yeah, it's done. So
Well, you did a great job. You took the win. You finished 6th overall. At one point, you were up there within sort of 3rd and 4th when everybody pit stopped and struggling away in the conditions that nobody, I don't think, had a clue where they were going to go and who was going to do what, and was it going to rain heavily? Was it going to stay like it? Was it not? I don't think anybody had a clue what was going to go on out there. But you seemed quite calm, quite collective, and taking the win in the arms.
Yeah, it was really tricky because the crew chief doesn't say was the thing that the condition will stay for was there is no improvement or it wasn't going very worse. So it was just thinking about all the car is gripping on the track, and at the moment we had to pit. I think a lot of people had pits. The softs was still very grippy on the on the track, so I knew that if it was for 2 or 3 laps with wet track, it should be fine because we'll lose much more time by changing the tires. So you said that finish P6. Finish P6. That's great. Fighting nearly for the podium in general. Just had I think a racing incident at the last chicane before the last lap, and cost me the P3. But it's still a good result, and hope for nearly the same performance at Long Beach. Who knows? And like I said, tricky conditions, and some people try the wet and hopeful and hope for a worse condition to make their choice work, and that doesn't pay. So it was soft or wet, and who was the best bet win, and the soft was the better option.
Yeah, it definitely was. Ian, thank you so much for joining me. Just before you go, buddy, how do you say your surname?
It's Ian Pfeiffer.
Pfeiffer. Okay. That's probably the only thing I didn't call you throughout the whole broadcast, all right? So apologies if I've butchered your name for that one. Ian, thank you so much for joining us there, buddy. Anyone you want to shout out before you let it go?
I would say thanks for all the support of the team, because I'm quite new on iRacing, and Satellite Racing has been amazing support to help me to improve myself. So definitely this result is thanks to them, and that's it.
Awesome stuff. Ian, thank you so much for joining there, buddy, and we'll see how you get on at Long Beach.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Right, and now we have got another interview here. I don't have a name, so this is going to be an interesting one. Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm fine.
And your name would be?
My name is Patrick Den.
Oh, hello, Patrick. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. It's just your Discord name does not match your name, so I didn't know who it was I was talking to. Patrick rounded out the podiums for the AMs there, buddy. 3rd place overall. Not a bad evening of racing for you.
not terrible.
No.
Was pretty tricky at the end with the slicks.
Oh, yeah, but you've got an advantage, you see. You're a German in a German car on a German track. Surely you must know it all, right?
Could be the thing.
Well, you took...
I gained like 5 places through the pit stop because I didn't change the tire, so.
Yeah, I think some people didn't know whether to, and we saw Tom Davidson go from the lead and finish all the way. Well, he was in front of you in the end, to be fair, and probably a couple of laps you might have got him as well. But it was tricky conditions out there as well. But for you itself, a nice little third place. Going in, you were sitting in 6th going into this one as well. Do you see the championship as a goal that you could take for this season?
I don't think so. The first couple of races were not that great.
But
maybe a top 5.
Okay. Well, I like that. Optimism, Patrick, optimism. Go for it, son. You know, you wrap up 2 more wins. You never know where you're going to end up. Oh, not that one as well. So, Patrick, thanks so much for joining us. Is there anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Nope. Thanks for the broadcast, and see you next week.
All right, man. You take care. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Right, so there we go, guys. That rounds out the mammoth amount of interviews we've had this evening as well there. Tom, sum it up for us, buddy. What do we think of the rain? I can't say rain-soaked because it wasn't rain-soaked, Nürburgring.
Well, I think the drivers have learnt a valuable lesson. Never jump ship too soon. And clearly the drivers felt that there was enough spray on the circuit to warrant the wet tyres, and it proved to be the wrong decision. So I think they'll take that going forward. Whenever the rain comes down, always learn your crossover point.
Yeah, absolutely right, guys. That's going to wrap it up. Thanks so much for joining me. I've been James Parfitt. I've been alongside Tom Cairns, and as always, take care. Have a great week, and you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.